Hello students, I welcome you all in 9th standard and I wish you all the very best in this upcoming year. So this year is beginning with a very great tragedy as COVID-19 is going on, but let's not all this pandemic affect your studies. So here I am with a very interesting chapter for you all, that is energy flow in an ecosystem. So before I begin, just let me tell you that your science portion is consisting of a few chapters of physics, few chapters of chemistry, few chapters of biology and few chapters of environmental science. So this is one among biology, okay, and somewhat related to environmental science as well. So I begin with this chapter, energy flow in an ecosystem. So there is lot to know, lot to discuss. Let's begin. Food chain, the very first concept is a food chain and a food web. But before I begin with this, let me show you this slide which you all have already seen in your lower standard. As we know that that sun is the only source of energy. Okay, sun is the only source of energy and plants are autotrophic in nature. So the sun gives solar energy and plants being autotrophic in nature. Autotrophic means that it is dependent on itself for its food. That means they trap solar energy and convert it into chemical energy. They grow themselves also and then they pass this energy to the entire food chain. That means a plant is only autotroph in this complete universe and all the other living beings are dependent on a plant in some or the other way. Okay, so sun is giving energy to plant, plant is making its own food and then this grasshopper is dependent on this plant. Grasshopper, its crop, its plant. Then this bird is dependent on this grasshopper, this snake is dependent on this bird, this eagle is dependent on this snake. That means owl or eagle, okay, either is dependent on snake, snake is dependent on bird, bird is dependent on grasshopper, grasshopper is dependent on crop. So here we can see that grasshopper is directly dependent on plant, but owl or snake are independently dependent on, is indirectly dependent on plant. So grasshopper is dependent directly and these are dependent indirectly. So here we can conclude that a plant is the only autotrophic living being in this nature and others are dependent on plant. So this sequence is called food chain. Okay, so what is a food chain? There is a definite sequence. I highlight the word sequence. In this interaction, see, interaction means these all are interacting with each other, dependent on each other. Okay, which is called food chain. Why the word chain? Because they are dependent like in a chain manner. You can see in the chain manner they are dependent on each other. Each chain consists of 4, 5 or more links and an ecosystem consists of many food chains. See, first of all, what is ecosystem? We live in a surrounding which is composed of 2 factors, biotic factors and abiotic factors. That means what? Living things are called biotic factors, non-living things are called abiotic factors are called non-living thing, right? So, for example, air, soil, water, okay, these all are what? Abiotic thing. And all the living beings like plants, birds, bacteria, whatever is around us comes under biotic. So, when this biotic interact with each other and also are dependent on abiotic factors for their survival, they constitute an ecosystem. So there are many living beings in an ecosystem interacting with each other, dependent on each other, dependent on abiotic factors like air, water and soil constitutes an ecosystem. So a puddle is an ecosystem, a forest is an ecosystem. There are so many ecosystems existing on this earth. There is different ecosystem in aquatic water bodies. Alright. So there are many ecosystem on this earth and there are many food chain in that particular ecosystem, and some or the other way they are connected to each other and they are known as what? Food web. They are known as what? Food web. Okay, so what I mean to explain is, when there is a definite sequence in this interaction means interaction among the living beings present in the ecosystem is called what? Food chain. And each chain consists of 4 or 5 or more links, and an ecosystem consists of many food chains, and when they are interconnected at various levels, it is called what? Food web. So this was our food chain. Okay, this was our food chain, and this is a food web. So it looks like a web, jal, right? So this is what example of food web. See, these are phytoplanktons, these are zooplanktons. It is dependent on, they are dependent on these, they are dependent on these, and these. Means there are so many animals dependent on each other and are interconnected among each other. Hence, this is called what? This is called what? Food web. It looks like web. So chain is a single chain interaction like this, and food web is so many interconnected food chains is called what? Food web. I hope you all understood food chain and food web. Okay, so now this is a trophic level. Trophic level in the sense, see, as I said, this is a producer, or you can say autotrophic plant, or you can say what? Producer. So producers are the one which produces food for the entire nature, universe. So these are primary consumer. Primary consumer in the sense who are going to feed on this producer. Who are going to feed on this producer. Okay. Then secondary consumer will feed on primary consumer. Then tertiary consumer will feed on secondary consumer. In lower standard, you all have seen that producers are eaten up by herbivorous animal. Herbivorous animal means the animals that are dependent on, or the animals which eats only green plants, trees. Carnivores are the one that eats what? Flesh. Okay. Then are the tertiary consumers, or you can say what? Decomposers. Decomposers are the one that will decay. Okay. So producers are who? Plants. Herbivores feed on plant. Carnivores feed on flesh, and decomposers decay. They decompose and releases the nutrient back into the soil. Okay. So here trees are producer. This giraffe is a primary consumer, whereas lion can feed on giraffes, so hence it is secondary consumer. And these wild dogs, they actually do not hunt for lion, but when they are dead, then they eat them up. Okay, like they work as a scavenger, they clean it up. So in that sense. So here, if you see this triangle, as we go above, the base is reducing. The base is reducing. See the wideness over here, see the wideness over here. So the base is reducing. So this gives us a very important knowledge about the energy transfer also. Energy transfer. Now, before I begin with the concept of energy transfer, I give you an example. For example, if there is a boy, if that boy eats spinach, that is our palak, and there is a girl who eats meat, goat wala meat. Okay. So accordingly, who will get more energy? Your answer will be the girl will get more energy because she is eating meat, right? But the answer is wrong. Boy will get more energy. Now why is this so? Because, for example, there was a this is the producer, spinach. Spinach is eaten by goat and then goat is eaten by girl, whereas spinach is directly eaten by boy. So here the girl stands on the level 3 of the tropic level, whereas boy stands on level 2 of the tropic level. Okay, so this pyramid explains us the energy transfer. See, what is the meaning of energy transfer? If this tree, whatever the energy or whatever the nutrient ingredient is there and in this tree will not be completely transferred to the giraffe. He will be able to consume only 10% of it. Means he will only get a 10% of energy out of this 100%, and rest will be lost in the surrounding. Rest will be lost in the surrounding. That means only 10% energy is transferred in the next tropic level. This giraffe has 10% energy. When this lion consumes giraffe, lion will be able to get only 1% energy. Again, only 10% energy is been transferred to the next tropic level. And when this wild dog consumes a lion, they will be able to gain only 0.1% of the energy. So this means as we go above and above of the tropic level, the transfer of energy decreases. So here if the girl is on the tropic level 3, she is getting less energy. For example, here there is 100%, here there will be only 10% and here there will be only 1%. Whereas here it is 100% and here will be 10%. So the boy who is eating spinach will be gaining more amount of energy as compared to this girl who is eating meat. Got the point? So the higher the animal on the tropic level, the lower is the energy passed on to him. Okay. So this is about tropic level and energy transfer in the tropic level. See. Producers 100%, primary consumers 10%, secondary consumer 1%, tertiary consumer 0.1 and apex predator 0.01. So the higher the level of the consumer, lower is the energy transfer to that consumer. Okay. And where is the other energy gone? Those are lost into the environment as heat energy in the form of heat. And from where does the producer gain energy? From sun. Always remember, transfer of energy is unidirectional. Whatever the energy is lost will be not going back to the sun. Okay, uni means one. Energy transfers only in one direction in case of this tropic level. Okay, and whatever is being decomposed at every level will be going back to the soil. And those will be what? Recycled nutrients. Okay. Now why is this decomposing important and how they help back to the producer in a further growing of plants and all, we'll see further. Now the concept of biogeochemical cycle. See, the cyclic flow of nutrients within an ecosystem is called the biogeochemical cycle, where the see, in the lower standard you all have heard about a water cycle, that how water the sun evaporates the water in the form of gas and the clouds are formed and the clouds precipitate and again it precipitates in the form of rain, snow, hail, है ना? And again the water is back on the earth. So that was what water cycle. In the same way as in higher standard, there are few more cycles. Let's see. In the biogeochemical cycle, the cyclic flow of nutrients within an ecosystem is called the biogeochemical cycle. See now what is the meaning of this cyclic flow? Why the word cyclic flow? See, we have seen this energy pyramid, right? So in this energy pyramid, if decomposers will not do their work and the nutrients will not go back to the soil, so soil, see, for even for the plants, how we need nutrients like carbohydrates, protein, fats, minerals. In the same way, plants are also living beings. Even they need what? Nutrients. Okay, so different plants need different nutrients. So how they get nutrients? They get nutrients from the soil. Now plants are growing since millions of years. So if plants take up the minerals from the soil, so those minerals should have been completely vanished. But this is not the case. So how come they get more minerals? How come the soil is replenished with the minerals? The answer lies in decomposition. The decomposers play a very important role of decaying or decomposing, which leads to recycling of nutrients back to the soil. So this decomposition help in decomposition by the decomposer like our microbes, bacteria and other worms. Okay, the nutrients are replenished into the soil, and then from this soil again plants take up those nutrients, those minerals, and again this chain continues, this energy transfers. So this maintenance is very important. If this cycle does not go hand in hand, if there is a missing of any chain or there is missing of any point, so it will lead to ecological imbalance. Okay. For example, in this food chain, we saw that each and every animal is dependent on one another. For example, if I say this grasshopper's population is declining. Let me take another example of this bird. For example, the population of this bird is declining. If the population of this bird is declining, so what will happen? Grasshopper's population will increase too much, as there is no one to check on the population of grasshopper. Okay, and on the other hand, this snake's population will also decline because the food is very less, and again this owl's population will decline, and this grasshopper will increase so much that it will destroy complete plant or crop. Okay, so even if the population of one member out of this chain is disturbed, it will lead to complete imbalance of the chain. So it is very important to maintain this chain, as each and every organism plays a very important role in maintaining the ecological balance. So this cyclic flow of nutrients within an ecosystem is called the biogeochemical cycle. Okay, bio is what? Life. Geo is what? Earth. Chemical are the nutrients or the chemicals like ammonia, carbon dioxide, and this cycle. So in our syllabus, there are two types of biogeochemical cycle, that is a gaseous cycle and the other one is sedimentary cycle. Now what is gaseous cycle? Now you all have heard about oxygen cycle, carbon cycle, these are what? Gaseous cycle. And the sedimentary cycle means, see, it is written, an accumulation of the main abiotic nutrient material. If highlight the word abiotic, nutrient material is found in soil, sediment and sedimentary rocks, etc. of the earth. Here sediments focus on the minerals Okay, like iron, calcium, phosphorus, etc. And whereas gaseous focus on gaseous nutrient material. Gaseous nutrient material like nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide and water vapor. So the maintenance of a gas is also important. Maintenance of a sediment inside the earth or soil or rock is also very important. I'll give you a very small example. If suppose we fail to maintain the level of oxygen in the earth, on the earth, so will we be able to inhale or take a breath as coolly and calmly as we are doing now? The answer is no. And the way, or the, if I say, the human being is heading so fast and increasing the level of a carbon dioxide in the nature, so it will again lead to what? So it actually it is leading to so many problems like global warming, greenhouse effect. Okay, so maintenance of gaseous cycle is important in order to tackle or in order to prevent from the future problems, right? Here this is a representation of gaseous cycle. See, in a carbon cycle, uh, carbon and its compound are present abundantly on the earth, and also carbon constitutes a good percent of our body. Alright, so this is how we will see carbon cycle. See, combustion gives off a carbon dioxide. Okay, now we know that all the fossil fuels when burnt or when combusted, they releases what? Carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide is let to into the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide is taken by green plants, because the green plants absorb a carbon dioxide to prepare their own food in the process called photosynthesis. And also you all know that we inhale oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide, and plants exhale oxygen and plants inhale carbon dioxide, right? Okay, so plants has inhaled this carbon dioxide and plant gave us what? Oxygen. We again inhaled oxygen and again we released what? Carbon dioxide. Okay, so this is how we maintain carbon cycle. See, here there is an example of a bird which is dead and fallen down. So when this bird when decomposed, so decomposing matter gives off carbon dioxide. And also we know that fossil fuels are made up of dead remnants of plants and animals which are been buried inside the earth for so long, so that under tremendous temperature and pressure gets converted into fossil fuels like petrol, diesel, kerosene, etc. So when they are burned, they release carbon dioxide. Okay, so this fossil fuels release carbon dioxide, we exhale, animals exhale, release carbon dioxide which is into the atmosphere, which is taken in by the green plants. Green plants inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. We again exhale oxygen and releases what? Carbon dioxide. So this is the way how carbon cycle is maintained into the atmosphere. That is why we need to plant more and more trees, because if there is no trees, so who will give us oxygen and who will take our carbon dioxide? Because this both goes hand in hand simultaneously. Okay, so this is carbon cycle. Now due to deforestation, due to a clearing of a forest and a cultivable land, we are facing this problem that the level of carbon dioxide is increasing in the air. So now this is our nitrogen cycle. As we know that air is a mixture of gases, where 78% is of nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.03% carbon dioxide, and in trace quantity other gases like argon and all. So nitrogen is consumed on a large scale by plants, but plants does not have any specific mechanism by which they can convert this or they can take up this nitrogen as in the form they are. That means the plants have no system to take up the atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, so these nitrogen fixing bacteria, they have the mechanism to convert this atmospheric nitrogen into nitrite or nitrate. Okay, so this nitrifying bacteria converts the nitrogen into nitrite and nitrate, which is then taken up by the plants. Okay, so what do the plants do? This nitrogen, with the help of this nitrogen, they make amino acid, and amino acid is the building block of the protein. Okay, so if there is no nitrogen, so plants will be not able to make amino acid, and if no amino acid, no protein will be made by plant, and even we will not get any protein when we eat plant. So this is again taken up by the plants. Then plant is eaten by the herbivorous animal, and when they excrete, there is again ammonia, there is again nitrogenous waste in their excreta, which is again decomposed or converted by the bacteria into nitrite or nitrate. Okay, then these are the nitrifying bacteria. There are some denitrifying bacteria that convert these left out nitrite or nitrate again into the atmospheric nitrogen. So this is how atmospheric nitrogen is converted into nitrite and nitrate by the nitrogen fixing bacteria, and then again converted back into atmospheric nitrogen by the help of denitrifying bacteria, and hence this helps in maintaining of nitrogen cycle. There is one more cycle, that is oxygen cycle on earth. We know that oxygen is one of the important factor why life is existing on the earth, and just now in the previous slide I explained you all that we inhale oxygen and plants exhale oxygen. So here plants exhale oxygen which is taken up by the all the living beings on the earth. Okay, and when they exhale carbon dioxide is again given back to the plants. So this give and take relationship helps us in maintaining oxygen cycle on the earth. That is why we must plant more and more trees so that we can get more and more oxygen and fresh air, and also the harmful gases and carbon dioxide will be taken up by the plants. Okay, so I hope you all understood this chapter, that how energy flows in an ecosystem, how all the living beings are interdependent on each other, how we are dependent on abiotic factors, and why is it necessary to maintain a gaseous cycle and also sedimentary cycle on the earth, and what will be the impact of imbalance of this cycle. Okay, so I hope you all understood this chapter. I thank you all for watching this lecture. I'll be back again with a new lecture. Bye students. Take care. Stay home. Stay blessed.